What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and hopefully this is the last video where I have to wear this stupid headset because I should be getting my microphone back, so thank you for bearing with me while I do this. But I'm really excited for this video because in the beginning of the month, I always share with you all what I'm going after from an investing or collecting standpoint, like basically what I'm spending my money on. And for a long time, I was staying away from Sword and Shield. Like I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But this is the first month where I got excited and I said, you know what? I think this might be the time to start looking at some really awesome artwork from the Sword and Shield era. There's a whole lot of hype in Scarlet and Violet right now. We've pushed through a lot of the big hype from Sword and Shield, and it might be a cool time to pick up some of those cards that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to early on. Now, the other thing I love, and we do this on this channel and we do it all the time, is I warehouse a ton of data. And one of the things that I warehouse is the top 20 singles cards for every set with a booster box. And I do it for entire eras. I do it for XY, I do it for Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, and I now do it for Scarlet and Violet. So the graph on this page right here is the aggregate of the top 20 singles cards for every single set that has a booster box in the Sword and Shield era going back to September of last year. So we have been doing this for one full year, which is really exciting. When I started doing this, I said, hey, this information is going to be impactful, but when it's really going to be impactful is when we get beyond the 1 year mark. More data points equals, just a better visibility. So I'm really pumped that we're at the 1 year mark. But as you can see, for most of last year's through September, October, November, December, January, heck, even into 24, February, March, the total value of those top 20 singles cards from all the Sword and Shield sets was relatively flat. Actually, it was slightly working its way down. Then what happens between March and April and May? Sword and Shield booster boxes start selling out left and right on the Pokemon Center, and things get absolutely insane. All the way through June, we saw Sword and Shield prices, mainly alt arts, but really almost all of the cards. I mean, even some rainbow cards, trainer gallery cards. I mean, we just saw tons of Sword and Shield prices spike through the roof as people started to admittedly FOMO a little bit. They started to say, hey, listen, booster boxes are going away. Sword and Shield is one of the best eras in recent memory. It has all these intangibles from going through the pandemic push and bringing people back into the hobby. Alt arts are amazing for all of those reasons. People were all in on Sword and Shield, and prices went just irrationally high. There's no other way to say it. They just did. And then what we've been seeing is we've been tracking these prices over the last couple of months is as quickly as they went up, they've been falling really hard. I think 2 months ago from that peak, it was down 10% month over month. And then the previous month, it was down 9% month over month. And then September, I really had a circle on the month of September. And I pulled these numbers a little bit early so I could include this graph in this video. But you'll see from August to September, the overall value of the top 20 singles cards from all those sets, it's down, but it is down less than 1%. It is starting to flatten out a little bit, which is exciting for me because that just kind of validates, hey, listen, this could be a time to look at some of those cards that you might have missed early on. The market is finding a new level, it's finding a new flat, and this could be a really exciting opportunity. Now, I will say this throughout the course of the video. There's no guarantee that these cards won't continue to go down. There's no bottom. I'm never going to tell you we found the bottom of any market or any cycle. Like, nobody can tell you that, and I certainly would never do that. But I do think we have the opportunity here to fulfill one of my biggest, kind of, I don't know, goals as an investor in this space is I want to buy great cards at fair prices. I don't want to buy fair cards at great prices. And that comes from Warren Buffett. That's how he invests in companies, right? You want to buy great companies at fair prices, not average companies at great prices. And that's what we're looking for in this video. Now, the other reason I wanted to do this is because we've seen similar trends in Sun and Moon and actually in XY as well. So I have the way those have moved, and I haven't pulled September numbers for Sun and Moon and XY yet either. But if you remember in, mid to early 2023, Sun and Moon singles card prices were really high. I mean, they were through the freaking roof. And then they started to work their way down. And then again, February, March, April, May, they really started to flatten out. But what we've seen over the last couple months has been this slow, steady, organic, healthy growth in Sun and Moon singles cards. And we saw the same thing with XY, October, November, December of 2023. They were working their way down. And then January, they kind of started to make the turn. And then for all of 2024, XY, the top 20 singles cards from all of the XY era booster boxes, they've just been performing really well. So we do see this in some pattern of history where, these singles cards as a whole, as an aggregate, they'll start to kind of flatten out or find a support line. And then they start to hit this organic growth, which is what I like. I don't like those big spikes and those big drops that we've seen before, right? Like I try and cut those out of my investing and collecting space. It's great if you're on the front end of those spikes. It is fantastic. Like that's what you want. You want to buy early, get a part of those spikes, and then hopefully when it comes back down, it doesn't come all the way down and you retain some of that spike like we saw in the Sword and Shield. But if you missed out on that, there could possibly be a period of flattening here or even a little more regression before we start to hit a period of some organic growth. So that is why I thought this was so exciting, and that is why I'm going to walk you through some cards that I think are great cards at fair prices today. And before I get into the individual cards, my goodness, if you made it this deep into the video, I know you love data, and if you love data, we do this stuff all the time. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, we'd love to have you be a member of the community. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, and if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. With that out of the way, let's start talking about what I think are some really awesome cards. And of course, I got to start with his origin form, Dialga from Astral Radiance. I am a huge fan of the artwork of this card. I think when you look at Astral Radiance in its totality, the average of the top 20 cards in that set are really strong compared to some of the other big names. If you compare it to Brilliant Stars, it's almost a 1-for-1. If you compare it to Lost Origin, right, Astral Radiance would be right there, except it doesn't have the big chase card like the Giratina, which is really propping up Lost Origin. If you just do it, go to any website, look at the top 20 singles cards for these different sets. Astral Radiance has some stunners, and this is absolutely one of them. So if you look at it, it went through the spike that we saw, and it's working its way back down, and it could continue to work its way down. I could see it settling in the $30 range, but overall, I think this is a very awesome card from an amazing set with great artwork that is at a very approachable price point. You are still paying a 31% premium versus if you bought it a year ago, but guess what? You can't live in the past. You got to make great decisions with the information you have at your fingertips now. So my wife loves this card. She thinks it's an absolute stunner. This is the time where I'm going to be buying it in preparation for Christmas because I think this card's awesome. I think she'd really enjoy having it in her personal collection. So I hope she's not watching this video. If you are, I totally made that up, and I promise I'm not buying it for you. So next card on the list right here, we are going to be looking at the Mew, and you know how much I love Fusion Strike. Again, if you just look at the top 20 singles cards from all of the sets from the Sword and Shield era, Fusion Strike is one of the sets that just has stunner after stunner after stunner in it, and this Mew VMAX is no different. Now, it has a little bit more of a choppy past, and you're still up 21% versus where it was last year, but the thing that got me excited about this actually is already starting to kind of creep up a little bit, okay? So you've got the Gengar's, the big chase card in this set, coming in at $300. Right? Then you got the Espeon after that, and that one's sitting there at $222. So you have two incredibly strong chase cards in this set, and this one's coming in at number 3, and I love sets that can do this. Again, I think Fusion Strike is going to be one of the top sets for a long time down the road, and this is going to be one of the top cards from that set as well. And the market, even though it hit that low there at about $75 a couple weeks ago, it's already starting to make a little bit of a price jump. So super cool card. I know the artwork's not for everybody, but hey, I love Mew, and I think this card has a lot of bright futures ahead of it. Next one right here, a card from Evolving Skies. Now, Evolving Skies is the set of the Sword and Shield era, and alt arts from Evolving Skies are like the holy grail of the collecting community, especially at least in the Sword and Shield era. Then you got this Glaceon V right here. Now, the V Maxes get all of the love, but do not sleep on this card. Look at it. It is really well supported at that $70 mark. And when we think about cards that find this long level of support, when Sword and Shield starts to get back to an organic growth pattern like we saw in Sun and Moon, like we saw in the XY graph, like this is a card that I think has the opportunity to give you some solid gains. Again, I don't bring any of these up because I think they're going to 2x or 3x over the next couple months. These are cards that I think would play a really strong part in an overall portfolio that I think have found some really strong support lines and can give you some slow and gradual growth over the years. I mean, it's from Evolving Skies and it's from Sword and Shield. What more do you want? And it's a freaking alt art. Now, you are paying a 25% premium versus where it was at the beginning of the year, but again, 25% after going through that big spike and that big drop kind of is what it is. Market price right now is $70. I think this is a stunning card. Next one right here is the again, another card from Fusion Strike, right? And this card, you're paying less of a premium versus the beginning of the year at plus 14% versus where it started off. What I got excited about when I saw this was it really had strong support at that 1-year high mark. Like it popped all the way up to $40, and it even creeped its way up to $45 over the period of about, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks. That's good. That's a good sign to me, right? That means it was trying to buck the greater trends of the hard spike up and the hard spike down, but eventually it did relinquish, it did give way, it did come down based off of what it is, and the overall trend is still down. Maybe it'll settle in the $25 range again for whatever reason, 25s, hundreds, like round numbers like that. The buying and selling market seems to like those numbers, so maybe this will settle right around $25, but just another crazy popular Pokemon from a wildly popular set with some amazing artwork starting to come back down to be one of those cards that I say, hey, listen, this is a great card at a really fair price. So super excited to have this one listed right here. This might surprise you because this doesn't check all the boxes for me because I don't think it's the biggest name in the world. But what I love about it is the artwork, and we've talked about Astral Radiance, right? Like this card from an artwork perspective, it's light, it's bright, it's engaging, it's fun, it checks all of those boxes. Again, is this going to pop off? I don't know, down the road and be a $50, $100 card? Probably not. I just don't think it's going to happen. Not every alt art is destined for a three-figure a price point. But do I think that this could give some solid growth? Do I think that Astral Radiance is a slept-on set? Do I think that this is a big part of what makes the Astral Radiance set great? I absolutely do. It's at $25. Again, that's that round number. I think the market's going to support it right in that range. Who knows? And again, some of these cards could break. I don't have a crystal ball. All I can do is go off of the results from the past, apply them to the present to hopefully give us some idea of what might happen in the future. But I do know that this artwork is absolutely fire, and $25 seems like a really approachable price point for it. Next one right here, I waffled with this card because Silver Tempest, we don't know what Silver Tempest is going to do, to be honest with you. I mean, it's still available on the Pokemon Center, for goodness sakes. I don't know if they printed it into oblivion. I don't know if people have just kind of stopped buying it, and that's why it's still available. I have no idea what's going on with Silver Tempest, but Unknown is a relatively popular Pokemon, right? And out of artwork, this is a really cool artwork. I like this card a lot, and for $15, I mean, it's hard to argue against it. I think we're going to have to wait for Silver Tempest to sell out on Pokemon Center for us to have any type of idea what Silver Tempest is capable of in the long run. This is it's unknown, right? We're unknown what the unknown card is going to do because there's just too many unknown variables around Silver Tempest. It's been in stock forever. It continues to be in stock. But when I think about risk versus reward, like I always think about that too. We're talking $15. I could pick a couple of these up for 30, 45 bucks and stash them away in the old binder. And if for whatever reason Silver Tempest sells out and then a year later Silver Tempest gets really hot, that Lugia card at the top, is wildly popular, So if any of those things happen and this ends up popping up to be a $25, $30 card, it could be really cool. And worst case scenario, you got some amazing art from a popular Pokemon for sub $15. You can do far, far worse. And this is one of the rare cards where you're actually buying at a discount compared to where it was a year ago. It's actually down 25 and a quarter points versus where it was a year ago. So lots of things to like about this card right here. But again, unknown about unknown. Now, next one right here. We're going to end this video with my two favorite cards on this list. And again, another card which is significantly below where it started off a year ago. And you will go through these cycles where things can be oversold. And Lost Origin, I love me some Lost Origin. That Giratina card at the very top, right? Like out of all of the alt art chase cards, it has the worst gem rate coming in at about 48%. Compare that to, say, the Moonbreon, which has a 75% gem rate, right? A lot of those VMAXs have much higher gem rates. And then the Giratina is going to kind of anchor this set and prop it up. And I think because the gem rate is so bad, I think that Giratina, is always going to have, from a raw card and obviously from a PSA 10 perspective, it's always going to have a very high value. Plus the artwork's just absolutely fire. Then you got the trainer galleries, you got a couple Pikachu cards in here. You got the Aerodactyl, which is in there, the number 2 card, over $100. There's just a lot to love about this set. And when you look at the booster box price, it is actually priced pretty good. Fusion Strike has actually come down a little bit, and Lost Origin and Fusion Strike and Chilling Reign, they're all neck and neck right there. So lots of positive things going on in the Lost Origin space. However, there's nothing positive going on about this Pikachu VMAX because it's down 23.6% ever since where it started off last year. So could be an awesome buying opportunity at $30. Again, awesome artwork. I love everything about this card. 30 bucks. Not saying it's a small amount of money, but you can certainly find cards that are far more expensive. I think the risk reward on this one, I think the balance is there. I think this has the opportunity, especially if Lost Origin gets hot in the long run. So super cool card. Love Pikachu. Think this could be a really cool pickup. And again, down versus where it was last year. You don't see many of those. So awesome opportunity if you want this and you don't already have it in the collection. And the final card right here, Fusion Strike. If you notice, there's a trend. I love big cards. I love big characters. I love if they come from big sets. It makes me feel comfortable and warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that it takes a lot to really upend these further into the future. And this Mew V card, I think, it's absolutely a stunner. I like this artwork better than the VMAX. I'll be completely honest with you. This one did go through exactly the same pattern that we saw for the broader market for Sword and Shield, right? Really aggressive spike up, subsequent really aggressive spike down. I personally think this is undersold, coming in at $33 from this set. Remember, Fusion Strike was a massive set. I mean, the card count was through the roof. These were not easy to pull, right? Fusion, it's just Lots of things going right for this card again. And when you're looking at buying this, it's only up 3% versus where it started off last year with all of the price movement in Sword and Shield. And you saw on that very first graph where we looked at the top 20 singles cards and how they performed over time, right? Even though it went through the pop, even though it went through that aggressive spike down, the new leveling off point is still significantly higher than it was at the beginning of the year. So the fact that we've talked about a couple different cards that you can buy at a discount compared to the beginning of the year, I think there's some really cool opportunity there. And this one you're buying essentially flat. I think it's awesome artwork from an amazing set. So I am all in on this one. Now, with that out of the way, listen, that is the whole video. And as I start to identify more Sword and Shield cards like this that I'm going to be looking at and I'm possibly spending money on, if you want me to let you know, I am happy to do that. Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, thought it was fun, give us a thumbs up. And if you made it to the end and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, I would love it if you considered that. It goes a long way in helping my channel out, and I really appreciate it. I hope you have an epic one. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.